that are hard to draw at first. And we'll just keep it nice and general. If you guys want to leave things that you guys find hard into the comments, then we will tackle any of those that we see. So today's lesson is going to be things that are hard to draw. Things like the jaw and how to understand how to draw this pesky little thing from the front, from the back. Learning how to actually manipulate those shapes is very important in your career. So we will tackle how to draw the jaw a little bit. We will tackle how to draw hands. Drawing hands is actually quite simple. You just have to understand where your fingers are and how they move. Like once you understand how they're connected to your body, it becomes a lot easier to draw in general because you don't have to wonder anymore. The moment that you remove guessing from the equation, then everything else becomes easy. It becomes easy to stylize something when you understand how it looks. I'll give you guys an example of just an eye. If you have an eyeball, right? You have three components to an eyeball. You have the white part, you have the colored part, and you have the black part. The highlight is literally not part of the eye. It's just the light that is hitting the eye. So the highlight is not part of the eyeball. Let's just forget about that shit, right? You don't need highlights in eyeballs. The reason that it's highlighted is because there's a light source and because it's a wet surface. That is the only reason that your eye has highlights. Normally, your eye will have a highlight the shape of whatever light source is hitting it. Okay? It's not dependent on a circle or a style. It really isn't. It's just a matter of whatever light source. If it's a star, like shaped LED light or something, guess what? The highlight is gonna be a star. Because it's just a reflection of your actual light source. So, highlights. That's a hard one normally. It's hard because people don't understand them. So, if you guys want to stay for the lesson today, you guys know the drill. So you guys get a free art lesson, right? You guys get a free art lesson, but you guys got to help me out by sharing the stream, which means clicking that little button right here, and by liking the stream. So liking means that you guys hit that little heart button all the time. The heart makes me feel warm inside. Yay, because I see that you guys love me. And then the sharing one is for you guys to actually help me grow. If you guys are helping me grow as a channel, I will be more than happy to help you guys grow as artists. So it's going to be a symbiotic relationship here. If you guys want to help me grow, you guys can help me grow. It's as simple as clicking those two buttons and doing whatever is necessary that the program asks you, like share it with a friend or share it with your stream or whatever. But in order for me to be able to do this to more people, to help more people, I need you guys' help to be able to reach more human beings. So all I ask for you guys, if you guys will remain for the lesson, is that you guys share and like the stream for me. I do not take any requests for lives. I just do not do that. It's a waste of time for me. And I do not do it. So please stop asking. I will always reject you guys. Now, what's something else that's hard? Hair? Some people said hair, right? So hair in its core is not necessarily all that complicated. You need to understand how to draw through your shape so you can come up with your hairline. Let's say you draw like all your other features. And all you're waiting for is the hair. Well, learning how to draw through your head shape is going to give you the area where your hair is going to grow from. That's your hairline. Now you have also sideburns that will connect to the front of the ear. So that's another thing that you guys got to account for. But once you figure out the placement for the hair, it's all a matter of drawing a shape or any sort of styling for a shape that's above that hairline. Once you find out where the hair comes from and how it's supposed to go, it's really hard to mess it up because hair can be a very big variety of things. But understanding just how to draw through your shape to find your hairline It's as simple as just creating two circles, one for the ears and one for the hairline, and then connecting them with a little sideburn. That gives you your hair area, and then from there you can give them an afro, you can give them long hair, you can make them have short hair, you can make them have hair that drapes, hair that comes out like bangs. All of it is going to connect back to that hairline. So you can have a lot of fun drawing lots of different hair by understanding where the hair connects to the body. How do you draw a really muscular upper male body? It always ends up looking flat for me. Well, we can talk about simplification of muscles as well, I guess. So if you're going to, but we'll go in order. Let's go in order. Let's draw the jaw first, and then we'll add some muscles right here. How to make someone look buff. Muscles. Right. Okay, so we'll talk about how to make someone look buff. So let's start with the jaw, because otherwise we're just going to keep on listing things and we're not going to really learn anything. So if we are going to draw the jaw, why is it difficult to draw the jaw? Well, it's difficult because you have a bunch of different surfaces like matching and like mixing together to create a single human head, right? The human head in general is consistent of a bunch of different surfaces that change from round to flat to angled to curved to sunken in to whatever. So you have a bunch of different elements that are happening in this body system of ours. So the reason that this is hard is because we try to see everything as one single shape. We tend to try our hardest to do something like this, right? This is normally the face, like head shape that we normally try to achieve or we try to go for. It might have like a little nose, it might have like a little chin, whatever. But it's going to be roughly this sort of shape. Well, when we think about things like this, it's really hard to come up with the area right here from the bottom of the neck. It's just really hard because there's no concrete basic shape that can tell you where those guidelines are going to go. So what I like to do, and as I like to do, is break it down into other shapes. Bro, instead of thinking of this entirety as one big element, I think about this in two parts. I think about my head as the upper part, which is just going to represent where my cheekbones and my eyebrows and my eyes are. So the first part of my skeletal system is going to be that top area right there. It's going to be my nose canal, my eye sockets that give me my temples and my eyebrows, and I have this complicated shape to deal with. Cool. And I can do this from a sphere. So perfect. So anytime that I do any sort of face, I normally start with the sphere and I draw my mask in order to get my cheekbones, my eye sockets, my nose canal, and my eyebrows, right? So once I know that I can do that really, really quickly, I can start figuring out where my ears are going to go. And why is my ear so important? Well, it's because my jaw is going to hinge off my ears, right? The front of my face is going to be over here, but my jaw is going to hinge depending on where my bottom of my ear is. That is roughly the pivot point for my mouth. So if I have it closed, it's going to be there. If I have it open, it's going to rotate down based on the rotation behind underneath my ear. So understanding where my ear is going to give me the key to being able to understand how my jaw moves. So seeing as I start with the sphere for the first part of my drawing with my mask, all I got to do is find my mask and find where my ear number one is going to be. By finding ear number one, I can just trace around my shape, which is just a sphere, to find where my other ear is going to be. Cool. So now I have that. I have the front of my face now. All I got to do is decide where my chin is going to go. So if this is my eyes, this is going to be my nose. I just need a space for my mouth. And then I'm going to connect both sides of the bottom of the ears to that chin by drawing through it. So now I have this little pocket right here. I have the back of my head. So I know that my neck connects to my spine and my spine is in the back of my head. So it's going to be really close to the back of my head. And in this little pocket, I just have to make sure that it's not all the way back here. Like you can cut the neck anywhere in between here and it's going to look fine. Now let's move that in different perspectives. Let's make this super easy. Let's keep it as a sphere. We will draw around our shape to find our ears on both sides. We're going to choose a chin and we're going to connect them together. And now we have a downward looking face. You can start adding your details. You can start adding like whatever styling you want to your design, but you're going to have that actual shape. The back of the head leads to the back of the spine. And right here, this little space that you have in between the sphere, well, this is the spacing underneath your jaw. So you get to choose to either not have a neck by drawing it like that, or you can curve it into the cheekbone, into the jawbone to make it like a superhero. Or you can decide just to add a little bit of shadow underneath to create that depth to make it look like it's looking from underneath. So that is something that is easier to do once you map out your ears. So let's do a more extreme one. Let's do that and that. Let's do ear, ear, chin. Connect them. Connects to the top of the head. The neck, collarbone, back of the head. I don't know. It just starts becoming a little bit easier to be able to see it. Now, if you want to get actual, absolutely perfect results, use reference. Because obviously I am not looking at the right features in the right place. When it gets extreme, it does get a little bit like distorted when it comes down to your visualization. So ear, imagine that your chin is up here and you're looking at something completely from the bottom. Right? If you want to have something like this, where you're looking so extreme, you're going to remember that your body is going to be blocking a lot of the actual head, right? Like your body would be like a big mass right here, looking up onto your chin, right? So you would still not just see a floating head. So that's why it makes these positions really complicated. And it's also not a very appealing way to draw the faces. So it's not something that you're going to find yourself constantly doing. But if you do need to do it, it's easier if you actually have a way to measure where everything is supposed to go to. Okay, it just becomes a little easier to get those positions in that perspective dynamic if you are going to be seeing it like that. So let's see. We talked a little bit about jaws. Let's talk about hands next. So hands. Hands are difficult because hands are very flexible. Hands move. They're not static. They have a lot of movement. So each one of our fingers essentially has a life of its own. Right? So once we understand that, it becomes a little easier to approach because we're not going to be tied to the whole idea of our fingers being like the princess fingers where you just like gather them together. You know, you're not going to be thinking about just like making like a shape and then, you know, trying to replicate fingers. No, we're not going to focus on cheating our way through drawing hands. We're going to learn how to actually draw the mapping points of the hand, and we will understand how to draw hands better by the end of this tutorial. So if you guys are tuning in to our stream right now, we are giving out free lessons. I normally give out free lessons to people a little bit earlier in the day. Like this says a little bit later than I normally go on. But I give out free lessons for people because I wish that I would have had people giving lessons for free when I was learning how to do art. All these things I learned through seeing other people draw. I constantly observe other people drawing because that is the way that it sticks with me. I'm able to replicate that a lot easier. So me being able to show you guys how to actually approach illustrations is, for me, the best way that I can possibly help teach you. Now, if you guys want to stay here and you guys have been staying here, if you guys haven't shared the stream, please, like we have about 270 people on the stream. If you guys can please share the stream so that more people can see my work, you guys can help me at the same time that I help you. That is essentially the give and take that you guys need to have with me. Please just be my friends and do it just for the same, just nonchalant reason that I'm helping you guys out. Right? If we all help and support each other, we all grow. Thank you. So hands in general are hard because we get taught how to draw them in a very weird way. Like we get taught how to draw hands in a very limiting way. Most of and I say this because I went to animation school and I got taught how to draw hands in the same way that the masters did, and I did not learn shit. Right? So what I always had a problem with was mostly learning how and where the actual hand bends and how it moves. So I would draw hands, but I wouldn't be able to really know how their fingers moved, even though I had a hand right here in front of me to like reference. I just never really like took the time to just look at my own fucking hand. Like it's weird. Like we have the reference right there, but we just never use it. So when I was looking at my hand, I noticed one thing. I was drawing my knuckles outside of my hand. So I was trying to draw my knuckles outside, right? So this is the first mistake that I did, because that's not where your knuckles fall when it comes down to your palm. Your knuckles fall inside of your palm. So you have 4 knuckles inside of your palm area, right? And I can tell my knuckles inside my palm because it ends right here. So this whole section is inside of my palm. It's underneath my little webbing. So all this is inside of my palm. So each one of these bones is inside of my palm. So what is this bone anyways, though? It seems like a ball, like a pivot, that gives me the top of my hand, and it gives me the bottom of my hand. And guess what? If I bend my fingers, it gives me the edge of my hand. So it's actually a very important point to learn how to draw. So I figured that if I could learn where one of these knuckles was consistently, I can therefore create an entire hand system by just mapping out from there. And I did. So I learned that the middle knuckle kind of falls in line with the middle of your wrist. That's really convenient because now this could be the top or the bottom of the hand. To one side of the middle knuckle, we have one knuckle going into the thumb side of our hand. We have 2 knuckles going to our pinky side of our hand. So now that I know that I have literally 2 fingers to each side of our middle finger, 1 and a thumb, or 2 just normal fingers, then I can start playing around with that idea as well. So if you just see it for a nice flat like image of a hand, this is what you get. The thumb comes about halfway up from the hand and it comes into 3 parts. It's the base, the stick, and the tip. So I like to think about it like a gear from like a stick shift car. Okay. So that is going to have all the movement in the world. So that's why I don't like drawing it in the initial drawing of the hand, because it has too much movement, right? If your thumb is in here hidden because you're like holding something, then it's not part of the shape anymore. You're not even seeing it outside. So I don't like drawing it with the initial shape. Kind of like I did with here. I don't like drawing the head. I don't like drawing the jaw until after I map out my eyes, my eyebrows, and my nose, right? So I do this. so that I can get my jaw the way that I want with the facial expressions that I want, because the jaw moves. So therefore, it's going to give me a different shape every single time that I'm doing something. If I'm pouting, I'm going to be like, If I'm screaming, I'm going to be like, ah. Right? So it's going to be very different. Therefore, it changes. Now, hands are very similar to that. So I started just to see the wrist into my middle knuckle, which kind of looks like a lollipop coming out of your wrist. Again, same premise. This is the top and the bottom of my hand. So whenever I draw my other knuckles, I have literally given myself the top and the bottom of my hand, which connects to the sides of my wrist. So doing that already gave me my palm by just knowing the size of my knuckle. Knowing how many knuckles go to the side of that knuckle gives me the rest of the fingers. Each finger can be going in different directions, and this is where your basic perspective comes into play, right? Understanding a basic tapered cylinder. A tapered cylinder is all you need, and you only need 2 sections, really. The finger has 3 sections, right? But you can break it down into a simple dynamic like this. Once you have your middle knuckle, once you find this middle knuckle, and you find the bottom of it, from the bottom of that knuckle to this first section is going to be the exact same distance as the next 2 sections together. From the bottom of your knuckle to your first knuckle is going to be the same distance as your 2 sections above together. So if you do that, once you find this middle knuckle, you get to dictate the length of your whole finger by just going to your first knuckle, because that just doubles it, and then you split it in half. So this is 2 parts, and then these are 1 each. So whenever you're drawing your hands, as long as you keep that in mind, your fingers are going to be nicely structured. Now, even the webbing comes into play by doing it like this. Let's have another wrist. We'll have a lollipop for a knuckle. We're going to have, again, knuckles going to the side. That gives us the edge of our face, and that gives us the edge of our hand. We have our stick shift coming in from the middle of our hand in our 3 sections. And connect them together. Cool. That gives you that little roundness that goes back into your knuckle. Therefore, the webbing that you get between your fingers right here. Now, for this, whenever you're drawing your cylinders for your hands, remember your hand is inside of your palm. Your knuckles are inside your palm. So these connect like this. If this is the bottom of the hand, you get the 2 little padded parts right here. Chuk-a-chuk, chuk-a-chuk. I call one the thumb side. I call one the pinky muscle, right? Pinky and thumb, like paddings. That's kind of how I see it, because that's kind of where they connect. And then the bottom part of the padding right here, this is your knuckle line. This is where your knuckles lay. That's why it's pumping up, right? It's squishing because your knuckles are pushing that skin up. So that is just your knuckle line. So you already have that. So therefore, ta-da, your hands, so much easier. And now you're not limited. Like now when you learn new things about your hand, you don't have to worry about like going back and having to relearn how to draw a hand. Now, let's say that you want to go more in depth into the knuckles, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to try to draw fingers a little bit better today. Well, now you can start looking at the little differences. Like look at how this has 2 lines and it crevices in the middle, right? Therefore creating pockets. But the reason that it happens, it doesn't just bend into itself. It has a little bit of a gap. So now we understand that there's a little gap in between the knuckles. Perfect. So now we understand why those little pockets happen when you bend your finger. When you bend your finger, that's going into that little pocket, creating another little pocket, creating another little pocket. So these little crevices is what gives you this little bumpy parts, because this is like a little bicep right now. Okay. The bottom part of this is kind of like, it's not a muscle, but it's like a little bicep. Imagine this is your arm and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get buff. So you bend your arm, you get a bump, right? You bend your finger, you get a bump. That's essentially the premise behind it. Shading. Would love to know more about shading. So let me ask you something, and especially you, the person that asked, like, so ADC 7,000. So ADC 7,000. So are you familiar with how to just draw surface lines on your shapes? So the reason that I ask this is because I like to tell people that they should learn how to create depth with their lines before they go into creating depth with shadows. Like, being able to learn how to create depth with line work is more important for character design than it is to be able to draw something with shading. Shading in itself doesn't really play a role unless you're going for a certain style or you're going for a certain mood for your drawing. The thing is, lighting and shadows rely heavily on light sources. Light sources are not going to necessarily give you the depth that you need or the detail that you need to be able to map out things on your system. And the reason that I don't like teaching shadows is not because I just don't like teaching it. I'm quite well versed at it. It's just a matter of going from step 1 to step 20. Like from the get-go, right? So if I teach people how to do the different types of shadows, like form shadows are the ones that go around your shapes, right? The little soft ones that gradient, like stuff like that go around the shape. Those are form shadows. Then there's cast shadows. Cast shadows are the ones that are cast whenever there's a light source and something is blocking something and it casts that shadow onto the ground or onto another surface. That is a cast shadow. Then, all those have like variations in between and highlights and stuff like that as well. So that is a very complicated thing to apply to somebody that does not have the ability to even divide a shape. So the reason that I ask you if you are familiar with just subdividing shapes and being able to see things in perspective is because that is going to be a more important way to give depth to your shapes than to give them shadows. Giving shadows makes them look pretty. Drawing them with subdivisions and like on a grounded surface makes it so it's in the proper place. So that's one is a foundation, one is a style choice. Does that make any sense? If it makes sense, hit that heart button. I will take a sip of coffee for a second. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I'm going to relax my hand. It's been going at it for like 30 something minutes. It's good to take breaks once in a while, guys. It's just a matter of making sure that your body is well kept. Like if you don't go and work out, go exercise. You need to get out and actually move your body a little bit, right? You are artists, but artists don't have to be like, like just indoor cats that don't do absolutely anything. You need to have your body be as healthy as anybody else so that you can actually keep doing this for a long period of time. So go out and actually move around a little bit. Go ride a bike, go for a walk, just go lift some weights, go do push-ups. Do something that's going to actually help you get your heart beating quicker. Yeah, that's just something that like not a lot of people do. Like you guys are comfy sitting on your desk for like 10, 20 hours a day. And I get it. I get it. I fucking get it. Like I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. I like my peace. I like my quiet and I don't like dealing with human beings. But make sure that you actually get a little bit of sunlight every day. Okay. That is my suggestion as your teacher. I don't know who Nepeta from Homestuck is, and I don't do fan art on command. Sorry. All right, so let's move on to the next thing that we were talking about. So we talked about hands a little bit. Now let's talk about muscles. Muscles. Okay. So muscles. Muscles in general attach to a skeleton. So the first thing you need to learn about drawing muscles is how to draw a simplified skeleton to attach those muscles to. So a skeleton in general is a relatively complex system, right? It has like a bunch of bumps. It has a bunch of like bones. It has a bunch of divots and cracks and dents and angles and stuff like that just comes a pain in the ass to learn, right? That's why anatomy is so annoying. And that's why stylizing everything is always so like predominant in what we do in our life, in our drawings and stuff. So what if I told you that if you learned just for 1 year how to draw very basic human anatomy like this, if you learned for 1 year and you actively just studied my videos and you studied everything that had to do with just learning how the human body moves, if I told you that that would unlock your ability to draw in every style possible, would you do it? Would you take a year out of your life to unlock the ability to draw in any single way you want? Some people would say yeah. Some people would say no. Some people want instant gratification, and that's perfectly fine. Instant gratification is not something like that I'm completely opposed to. And I like learning and knowing and going as I go. So I personally took that challenge and I took a year away from drawing my own personal projects to just focus on drawing anatomy and teaching anatomy. Over this 1 year, my drawing potential and ability multiplied indefinitely. Like I can't even explain to you how beneficial it was to learn just the basic stuff again. Right? And it's because I never took the time at first to actually do it. I thought I did. I was like, oh, I know perspective. Of course I know perspective. Of course I know anatomy. I've been an artist for 20 years. Of course I know it. No, I didn't know shit. Most of the things that I was drawing were based on just stylization choices that I chose. And at the end of the day, when I got a chance to actually put forth my own artwork, my own styles, I came up to a blank. I was not able to produce a style of my own, and it was incredibly difficult. So I went back. I took a year off of drawing my own shit to be able to learn just basic anatomy principles. And I'm going to teach you guys them right now. So over this last year, I had a couple breakthroughs, right? And it came down to understanding that the whole body in general can be broken down into 3 different parts. 3 different hard surfaces that you need to know in order to be able to manipulate the body into anything you want. So the biggest one is going to be your rib cage. Your rib cage is going to be somewhat like a sphere, but like an eggy sphere. This is not going to be tied to a certain specific size or shape. You're going to use this as a rib cage. The only reason that we're drawing a sphere is because we want to keep it as a size simple shape. You can do a box. You can do any shape that you feel more comfortable with to find the sides and stuff like that with. But I like doing a sphere. because I can just draw circles inside of circles and find all the little things that I need, like the little middle part of the bottom, right? And then I go up, boop, 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 and I find my other little bone, which is my collarbone that goes to the sides of my rib cage. So now just by drawing a middle line and tracing some things to the edge, I have pretty much a rib cage. You can do the same thing on anything that has a side. Okay? So this is the shape that you want to aim for. Where do these points go, though? This is going to be your collarbone. Your collarbone is going to tie into where your neck goes, where your back muscles attach, and where your arms are going to connect. Right? Your arms are going to come out of these pockets underneath your collarbone because that's where your arm pivots from. Okay? That is why I choose this point to originate the arm from. This is going to be the pivot point for my arm. So wherever this is, my arm is underneath every time. Now, my arm can be wide, my arm can be big, my arm can be small, but it's always going to originate from that same spot. It's just going to be bigger or smaller depending on the size of that side. So once I figured out how to do that, I was like, oh shit, that's easy. Cool. I have my holes for my arms. I don't have to worry about where my arms are anymore. Right? That is something that I don't have to worry about anymore. I figured out how to easily find the middle part of my rib cage, make it look like a rib cage, go up a little bit and find my collarbone that goes to where the top of my shoulder is, essentially. From here, whatever distance I choose in my rib cage down, that's going to be how wide my arm is. And it works really well. That measurement is incredibly accurate. And I found it to be a very, very easy way to learn how to map my arms on my actual body. So once I did that, now I need to learn how to attach the muscles around it. Because right now there's no muscles. There's just shapes consisting of what I want my actual body to look like. There's no muscles involved there. So if I wanted to add muscles, I would have to understand how my muscles connect to my actual skeleton. Well, let's start with the chest muscles. We have our rib cage, our collarbone. Okay. Our chest muscles, there's our arms, are going to connect from here, from where your armpit would be. So a little bit underneath this hole, like halfway down your arm, I guess. Halfway down your arm, back to your chest. And that creates little fibers. Then you have your lower pectorals. Your lower pectorals are muscles that round out your chest. So you have your upper, lower, or upper, middle, and lower pectorals, but we only draw the lower ones separate to get that little roundness or squarishness to our actual chest. Now, if we're drawing women or somebody with breasts, we don't draw them like that. We draw our collarbone as well. And then we draw shapes that are on top of our rib cage, right? Think about boobs kind of like a bra or like a bikini. It wraps around the back of your neck, roughly, and that's where they tend to come from, originate, like the flow of the lines at least. And you end up with a situation like that. When you're drawing things from the side, you have your pectoral muscles. Or you have your breasts, which again are shapes that protrude from your body. And they normally connect behind your neck, like a bikini. Can you teach us about form? What do you mean form? Like how to find form on something? Like if you had like a vase or something, right? How to find the form on it? Like how to find the volume? Like, or what do you mean by that? Well, if you guys want to learn how to draw volume on shapes, it's actually quite easy. I'm going to show you guys like how to do the basic three-dimensional exercises for each shape. How about that? So the first one and the most important one is how to draw a sphere in 3D, right? So if you're going to try to draw a circle in three-dimensional viewing, it's as easy as drawing a circle and practicing drawing circles inside of a circle. So the more you practice drawing circles inside of a circle, you'll get used to subdividing your shape like an atom and stuff like that at first, right? But the thing is, you can also do it in the same general direction. So if you do it in the same general direction, but you don't draw the backside, you end up with grids. You can use those grids to draw things like eyes, mouths, ears, eyebrows, stuff like that. Right? So you use the grids that you draw to be able to manipulate your shape into doing what you need. If you do them like this, like doing one that is just crisscrossed, gives you things like the shape for eyes, gives you the shapes for mouths, right? Because it gives you the thing that wraps around your body. So it's giving you that roundness without you needing to actually think about it because you're just drawing your basic shape. So exercising like this, doing exercises that involve just drawing different hemispheres interacting and seeing how you can turn that into your basic shapes, like your eyes and stuff, is going to be a basic exercise that is invaluable. So you can practice doing those sort of things over and over and over. And then whenever you get a chance to draw something on a character, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, I want this character looking up. So what did Rod teach me? So if I have a sphere, all I have to do is draw my hemispheres going up on my sphere, and then the character is going to be looking up. That's cool. And all it took is a little basic perspective. So things like that are very important. Like having your mouth open, it's the same thing. Like you're just taking 2 points of a sphere, connecting them, and then adding negative space. And then you have a mouth. So it's a matter of just being able to apply your basic elements like a sphere into something that is actually a body part. Now, that is spheres. If you're trying to draw boxes, you're going to draw boxes in 3 dimensions by just drawing a box and an overlapping box and connecting them. And that is how you draw a box in space. That's how you draw a cube. You want to draw something looking like you can see the underside of it, draw your initial box, draw a box underneath, and then connect them all. Now you have a box that's looking from underneath, or you can see it from underneath. If you want a box that you can see from the top, do the same thing. Draw your side box, draw the top one, and then close it off. Now you have a box that you can see the top of. So this helps you when you're drawing things like, I don't know, like if you want to look at a head from the top, or you can look at a head from the bottom, you can just draw your head, draw a little bit of a box underneath, draw through your shape. So you have your sides, you have your ear placements, and you have where your neck and stuff like that are going to come from. Right? It's all about learning how to draw through your shape so that you can actually use that knowledge to your advantage. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of getting used to drawing these sorts of shapes in an expert level. Okay, so, but can you draw a stick man with the sun in the upper right corner? The stick man has a really long neck. So we're gonna give him a bigger face. He's gonna be buff. Give him some hips. Give him a little bit of a back muscle. Give him some shoulders. And then he's gonna be at the boardwalk at the beach with some boats in the water. Some clouds. There you go. How do I know where to place face features? Study anatomy. If you want to learn how to, like, where to place face features, you need to understand how a skeletal system works. So this is going to help you with like animals, humans, and everything in general. So if you learn how to draw a skeletal system, don't think about like, oh, I need to draw every little crack and every little detail. No, stop right there. Don't. What you need to understand from a skeletal system is where things protrude, things come out. So in general, you want to focus on learning how to draw the eye sockets and how that connects to your cheekbones and your nose canal. This essentially is the part of the skull that you need to learn how to draw. This is what's going to give you all the information you need for the rest of your face. Everything else can be like rendered down to style, really. The jaw, it's going to be dependent on if you want a big superhero dude, or if you want like a little tiny like anime character, or if you want a baby, right? All that can happen from that one same base system. So the styling that you choose from the actual character is going to be based mostly outside of the range of what you're drawing here. So from here, you can choose absolutely anything, but this doesn't move. Like the thing is, like this part of the actual head, that includes the actual bottom teeth, by the way, but I just don't like drawing them. That part of the head never moves. And what do I mean by that? It just like this part stays stagnant. It doesn't flex. It doesn't adjust. It doesn't really do anything except just exist, right? So that's why I like to see it as the part of the body that is always going to remain in a state of permanent stasis. Everything else, my nose can change, my jaw can change, my entire character's hair, head, sizes, everything can change except for that little section. That little section to me is sacred, because that's essentially where most of my emotions and the feeling for the character are going to come from. So I need to make sure that I land this section perfectly every single time. And that involves me just mapping this out in a very simple fashion. Normally, it just involves drawing a mask. Drawing a mask represents all those parts in one fell swoop. Okay, represents the temples, which is also the edge of our eyebrows. So I know that my edge of my eyebrows is going to be right there. This is my eye socket. My eyes tend to sit at the top end of my eye socket. So I know that they're going to be higher on the eye socket, closer to my eyebrows than it is to my actual bottom of my face. But this is also going to give me my cheekbones, which leads to my nose, which leads to my other cheekbone. So all this, if I just follow the outskirts of it, I get the side of my face, I get my chin, I get the angles for like the side of my face, I even get the areas for my mouth. All incredibly quickly, all really, really fast. So, and it's accurate too. It's not just like a measure that is going to leave you guessing. If you choose your mask to be smaller, you get to have a lot of fun. It's not like you can do it wrong. You can choose any shape you want, draw a mask inside of there, and then you have the edge of your face, your cheekbones that lead to your chin, your nose bridge, the nose pocket. So you can draw your nose inside of there. This is the area for the mouth. So you can draw anything you want for your mouth. Eyebrows. This is the side of your face. So your ear has to be around here somewhere. And just incredibly easy, you're able to come up with characters with actual accurate mapping points. The more you start rotating this on the side, it gets really fun too, because you can draw your mask, temple, cheekbone, nose, mouth area. Eyebrow, cheekbone, and eye just has to be around here somewhere. So it makes it incredibly easy. No, I'm not going for realism. The thing is, I'm not aiming for realism. I'm aiming for a system and a structure that helps me understand my faces better. So I can use that same system to create something like this that could be like, I don't know, a nice little like Prince character or whatever. Or I can use that same system to come up with something diabolical. Right? It doesn't matter how I approach it. It's just a matter of my imagination. But that little tiny like mapping point gives me a lot of freedom to be creative because I'm not wondering anymore. I'm not guessing anymore. And the moment that you take away guesswork from artwork, you get creativity. The connection of the neck and shoulders. Cool. Let's talk about that. So the connection of the neck and shoulders. So in order to be able to understand the connection points between the head and the shoulders, you need to understand where the ears fall on a character, and you need to understand where your collarbone falls on a character. The collarbone is going to be a little bit harder to understand because most people don't even take the time to draw it. But it's really easy to understand where it falls if you just draw a rib cage and you follow your middle section up a little bit, and then you create a baseball diamond on top. It's going to sit at the upper third of your rib cage, roughly, or even higher than that. You know, sometimes it's going to be like about 1/4. Depending on the styling that you choose, make sure that your collarbone sits higher on your rib cage than like half. Do not draw it at half. No one has your your collarbone at half. Literally, it's like either a third or a fourth or a fifth all the way up. You know, like it's higher up on your rib cage than it is lower. So always make sure it's higher on your rib cage. This one might be a little bit low. Now, from there, identify where the bottom of your ears is. Once you have the bottom of your ears, you're going to connect those 2 points to the middle point of your collarbone. That is going to represent the front muscles of your neck. Then after that, you're going to, between these 2 sections, you need to have 3 things, right? There's always going to be 3 elements in between your collarbone. Your collarbone, sometimes it extends a little bit past your rib cage. I like to just draw it to the edge of the shape of the rib cage. So you choose whatever styling you choose. In between here, in this little baseball diamond, you're going to have your pitcher's mound in the middle, right? Well, that is going to mark the middle of where your neck is going to come out from. So you need to have 3 elements in between. You have to have your neck tube, so the cylinder that takes you up to your head, and you need to have the neck muscles, the back muscles that support the neck. So you need to have those 3 things in there every time you draw a neck. You have to have 2 side muscles, and then you have to have your neck cylinder that takes you up your head. So at first, these 2 lines don't really do anything except indicate the muscles that are going to be part of your initial cylinder. So once you have these, coming from your ears, now you get to dictate from the ears as well how wide you want your neck. Don't go all the way down, just overlap your lines a little bit. And then the back muscles connect behind those lines. So how does that look like when you're actually drawing a character? Well, when you're drawing a character, it looks like this. Let's draw. Find my ear, find my ear. That's the only thing I hear. Find my ear. So I have my ears. Now I need to find my collarbone. So I'm going to draw my neck, my body, my rib cage, the bottom part of my rib cage, follow it up, and draw my collarbone in the way of a baseball diamond at the top of my rib cage. Okay? So now I have my ear. I'm going to connect it to this collarbone in the front. Boom, boom. I'm going to find my other ear by drawing through my shape and then connect that as well. So I have the front of my neck already established. But whatever jaw and anything that I draw is going to overlap these lines because they're behind the jaw. Okay? And then I choose the width of my neck based on my collarbone. So my neck cannot be wider than my actual collarbone. So I have to give space here for my side muscles and my neck. So I'm going to draw my tube of my neck going up about halfway and connecting the rest to my side. And you end up with a neck that looks like a neck. If you do this from the side, you're going to have a character that looks that. Have your ear. Draw my rib cage. And from the bottom of my ear to my collarbone, that's number 1. Again, during this space, you have a baseball diamond. Your collarbone only goes about halfway down your rib cage. Doesn't go all the way to the back. Okay, so it stops about halfway. So when you're seeing it from a 3/4 or side profile, remember that it doesn't go all the way back. Then you have the front one, your jaw, front one. You get to decide within this space, the back of the head is going to connect to the back of the spine. So you're going to have just that general. And then you're going to decide the width of your neck from there. So remember, your head connects with your spine to your rib cage, right? So it connects like that. The jaw and everything is extra on top and the front. But your actual system for your body is more akin of that. So this is also the pivot point for your neck, right here in the back, the second base in your rib cage. So at the top baseball diamond, you have home place, first, second, third, right? This one is going to be how your neck like rotates. So whenever you like bend your neck back or your head back, it's gonna pivot from that point because that's where your spine is. So whenever you're looking up in this position, you are going to see a lot more strut between your collarbone and the top of your head. Okay. So as you rotate your head up, you're going to start seeing different situations happen, but you still need to account for those 3 elements. Okay. So that still works regardless of you looking up, looking down, stuff like that. All right, so we have a little bit more space for a couple more questions. So I'll take a couple more questions from you guys before we end our day today. So feel free to leave them in the comments. What else do you guys want to learn? Today we have learned about the jaw quite a bit. We have talked about hands. We have talked about body placement. We talked a little bit about muscles and how you connect the neck ones and the chest ones. We talked about hands and a little bit about how to see things in perspective and how you progress by using a good system, how you can progress that indefinitely as you learn more and more and more and more. Talked a little bit about why you should not draw in shadows. Oh yeah, different body types. Gas mask. Okay, dude. Like if you're trying to draw a gas mask, it's not that hard. Like draw your mask, like I've been teaching you guys, and that gives you the placement for whatever type of gas mask you want to draw. It already gives you the edge. So I'm giving you exactly what you want. You are just not seeing the possibilities for it, right? Like you need to see the basic shapes for what they are and just adjust accordingly. But I'm giving you the secret. You already know the secret, and the secret's the same. It's going to be consistently drawing shapes in a way that makes sense to you. Different body types. Different body types is just a matter of taking the proportions of your rib cage and your hip bones and learning how to manipulate these two shapes. So if you can manipulate a sphere and a cylinder, you can create different body shapes. So if you take a bigger shapes, you're going to get different body shapes. You're going to get little rib cage, big hips equals a big hip person. This is more like a gnome, right? The more you practice with drawing different body shapes and body styles, you'll realize that it's not so much a matter of like drawing a certain body a certain way. It's just understanding these two elements and then just shifting them aside so that you can get massive different looks for your designs. Even if it is incredibly stylized. You want to know what I mean? So let's talk about legs since we drew some hip bones. Hip bones are a cylinder where you taper in the sides. That's it. That's all the hip bones need to be. And then from here, you get to draw any sort of shapes and it's going to look right. Even if you draw straight lines, as long as you draw them from that little space, you can draw more realistic ones with muscles and structure, or you can draw more cartoony ones. But as long as you draw them coming from that same spot, it's going to look perfectly fine. So that is how you learn how to draw legs. You learn how to draw a cylinder, bending in a little bit on the edges, and then you learn how to move things with basic shapes inside. And that is how you learn how to do legs and posing and stuff. I heard you can draw legs as a stair. What? So a leg as a stair. So I guess I could draw like multiple legs as stairs. I guess it could work. Just add more segments to people. But I guess you could add legs as a stair to people. I mean, it looks a little weird, but kind of looks like it would work. I mean, that's not how a leg works, but I guess once you understand where it connects to, I guess you could still do it and it would look a little bit okay. Teeth are easy, depending on how much teeth you want to draw. Like a mouth in general is stupidly easy. So make two dots, connect the dots, overlap the top line, create negative space. You have a mouth, right? Two lines connected by dots, overlap the top one, create negative space, you have a mouth. And that is a very simple cartoony mouth. Two dots, connect them, overlap the top one, create negative space. So now that is the easiest way that you guys can draw mouths, and it applies very easily to characters as well. Let's say that we have this guy. We're going to finish him up. Okay. And we want to give him a mouth. Well, let's make him the superhero dude. So we have like a nice big surface area. So now we have this dude, but we want to give him a mouth, but we just don't really know like how to go around this shape. So we just want to draw something fun. Well, I'm going to normally, and this is just a base notion for me. I normally take wherever the eyes are and then go down behind, like underneath the cheekbone, and I choose 2 points based on those points. Now, from there, as long as I connect those 2 points together, I can create some really fun, expressive mouths. Like, as long as I take those 2 points, I overlap the top line, and then I add negative space in the shape of teeth, I can create really fun expressions. It's incredibly easy. And like, mouths are not hard. Mouths are 2 dots connected by 2 lines of whatever shape you want, overlap the top line a little bit, and then give yourself negative space. I honestly feel like I got cheated most of my life by getting told that I had to draw a certain way. Now, if you don't want to draw super simple ones like this, it still applies to more complex ones. If you want to draw something with lips, draw the shape, overlap the top line, and then draw lips inside your shape. Baba, perfect lips every freaking time. Every time you draw 2 dots, connect them, overlap the top one, and draw your lips inside, draw the upper lip first, you're going to get really luscious lips. It's just an easy way to draw mouths. 3/4, just angle those up a little bit more. Okay? Its profile is the same thing, just have to draw through your shape. So its lips and mouths are stupidly easy. Right? They're just so incredibly easy. And it honestly comes down to just understanding how to draw a circle inside of a circle. Like, it comes down to this. If you understand how to draw a circle, you can draw a circle inside of a circle and just follow those guidelines if you can't see it yet, so that you can draw yourself mouths, lips, eyes. Anything you really want that has roundness can just be drawn with a circle, intersecting with another circle, and then just add your details inside. Okay? That is the power of understanding perspective. It's not for you to draw environments or vehicles or buildings and all that crap. Like, even though it's good that you learn how to do that, and you will eventually find some joy once you find that perspective is not as hard as you guys think, right? Once you guys understand that you guys can play around with perspective and detailing and stuff like that, you might have a little bit more fun creating storefronts and, I don't know, futuristic cities and environmental stuff. You know, it becomes more fun when you understand it. When you don't understand it, that's when it's incredibly hard and it's just annoying. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do it because perspective is for suckers. I don't want to learn how to do environments. I'm like, no, it's not even about that. It's about just learning how to be able to use your shapes in space. And once you learn, then it becomes easier, and then you don't have to worry so much, and then you just have to be concerned with being creative instead of being always trying to like guess what other people are, like knowing that you are only guessing. Tips for poses. Don't draw flat poses. If you guys want to have like better posing, just draw sushis instead of actual things like this. Yeah, sushi is literally just a swoosh. Give it feet, and then figure out your pose from that swoosh. Like I like doing sushis because sushis are easy. They're easy to do. And they give you a bunch of depth with very basic perspective already. So sushis are really, really fun. I like to just do them so I can figure out different poses, different angles, and just see if I can turn that into a cool pose. So that is one aspect. If you don't want to be too structured and you just want to have a little bit more freedom with your posing, that is how you do it. So one more hand, knuckles go inside your palm, fingers extend, and palm. So hands were easy as well. Muscles are easier as well. The jaw should be a little bit easier as well. Arms should be easier. Hands and feet and legs and teeth and everything like that should be a little bit easier now that you guys have been explained how to do it. Now it's your turn to go and put those things to a test. You need to take what you learned today and you need to apply it to something. So if you want to cement anything that you learn, what you need to do is a simple formula. You learn, so you pick up the knowledge, right? You have it in your brain, and then you have to apply it to something that makes you proud, right? So that means apply your knowledge immediately to something that you're going to be proud of. By doing so, you add that initially like to your mental library. And when the next time that you go to draw something similar, you're going to reach into that mental capacity and you're going to be more inclined to draw it similar to how you did it now, as opposed to going back to the same habits that you might have had before you came and you learned new concepts. So in order to learn, you need to actively put attention to fomenting and growing the skills that you just barely developed. So go out and draw hands, jaws, skeletal systems, hands, perspective, buildings, bodies, volume, rib cages, hip sizes, face sizes, mask shapes, mouths, eyes for cylinders and spheres and sushis. Go do all those things and actually get them into your knowledge base. If you don't do any of that, if you guys don't practice this stuff, then it's just lost time. Like you will not be able to recall this on the fly. That is why I normally do it with you guys alongside me, so that you guys have a chance to have the ability to be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Let me ask something. So thank you guys so much for being my sketching buddies. You guys are the best. I do quite enjoy hopping on here and having my group of thousands and thousands of artists just waiting to learn how to ask and how to like know something new. It took a while to build this community up, but we are there. Woohoo! We have consistently like 300 to 400 people in the chat, and you guys are learning to share the stream whenever you guys come in. That is the biggest factor for me. Like I need you guys to share the stream as your ticket entry to our class. Right now it's a little late, so don't worry about it. You don't have to do that right now. But with 48,000 likes, but only 189 shares, that's a little low. So we need to match those numbers a little bit better. Next time, guys, if you guys plan on staying, please just help me out by sharing the stream. But for now, I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I get to go play pool, so I'm going to go play some pool with some of my favorite old ladies, and I'm going to kick some butt. So if you guys want to know my progress on that side of things and you guys want to know more about my life, you guys can go search my Instagram. My Instagram is essentially where I share my entire life story. There's my journal for my life, and I love sharing with all of you guys. So please feel free to go follow me on Instagram. If you guys want to see more of my videos, go follow me on YouTube. YouTube has almost every video that I've ever released that was worth uploading is there. So you guys can go see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos about how to be an artist, how to live life, how to make money, how to not starve, how to like actually choose the right art school. How do I find my style? How do I make sure that I'm doing the right thing? How do I not feel like shit after, a client like rejects me or whatever? How to deal with difficult clients. All that sort of stuff is what I teach. And I like teaching because I struggled through that. I struggled through all those fucking things. So I don't want anyone out there to have to struggle as well. So go look up all that information. Hope you guys enjoy just binge watching all that crap. And I will leave you guys with a nice message because I like leaving positivity into the world before I go. In case I die or I just disappear off the face of the earth or whatever, I want to make sure that you guys remember me as a person that was really, really kind and really, really nice. So at the end of the day, I want to leave you guys with 3 or 4 little messages. I want you guys to go out there and love a little. What I mean by that, love is not necessarily just for others. Love yourself, be kind to yourself, be happy, enjoy something from today that's going to make your heart nice and warm. Go out and live a little. You can't draw art without experiencing life, right? The art of actually drawing things that come to life, aka animation, storyboarding, books, comics, is knowing how life is. So go out and live a little bit so you guys can understand that a little bit more. I want you guys to go out and laugh a little. Life is just not worth it if you don't have a little bit of laughter in you. So make sure that you find a good joke, a good pun, or just literally laugh to yourself in the mirror if you feel like it. Something funny might come up. Make sure that you laugh a little bit today. And above everything else, you guys are artists. So I want you guys to go out there and draw a lot. Okay? Because at the end of the day, without that, you guys have really little recourse as to getting better. So just get out there, draw as much as you can, bring a sketchbook anywhere you want. And if you can try to aim for at least 15 minutes of drawing a day with targets of learning. So if you stayed with us to the stream, you probably accomplished those 15 minutes really, really quickly. You guys are good to go. But if you guys didn't, and you guys are just barely joining our stream or just barely joining us in general for our first stream, I recommend that you spend at least 15 minutes a day over some coffee or whatever, and take 15 minutes a day to learn something new in your art career. By the end of the week, you will have a ton more learning potential underneath you. And by the end of a month or a year, you will be monsters. You guys will develop a big habit off of it, and you guys will be able to grow based on your own learning, which is always the ideal situation. Anyways, have a wonderful day, everybody. You guys are amazing. You guys are the best. And if you guys want to support, there's always ways to support. You guys can buy my books. You guys can find my books in my stream, in my bios, in the links, everything like that. You guys can subscribe, but I don't really do much for subscribers. I don't like hoarding information. So if you guys subscribe to me, make sure that it's just because you guys want to support, not because you guys are expecting anything. And I don't like exclusivity. The reason that I do what I do for free is because I hate exclusivity. So if you guys do support in the way of subscriptions, realize I love you guys, but it's not going to be special streams or anything like that anymore. I tried to do that for a little bit and it just broke my heart because I would do some really cool streams and then I couldn't share them with other people without making people think that I was neglecting their exclusivity, and it just pissed me off and I just kind of stopped doing shit. So I don't like doing that. So anyways, I'm saying bye for 20 minutes. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Love a little, live a little, laugh a little, and draw a lot. Talk to you guys soon.